Hello, welcome back to Learn Oikonomia. Today we are going to discuss the concept of Phillips curve. Let's have a look into this. The idea of Phillips curve is given by a very famous person, A.W. Phillips, and what he has done here is that he was trying to use 100 years of data. 100 years of data was used, and using this data he was plotting it. And when he plotted this, he could find an inverse relationship between two things. And the first thing is unemployment. The second thing is increase in nominal wages. And this is something that you can call as the wage inflation. So what we could conclude from this is that when Phillips was using 100 years of data, he could find a trade-off between wage inflation and unemployment in the economy. Here we could see that during boom period, people will be demanding more goods. Demand for goods would be increasing. And this lead to a need to produce more goods, and this will lead to demand for labor, increased demand for labor. Since there is a need for more laborers, the wage rate in the economy increases. And what is wage rate? It is the price of labor. Now we can plot the Phillips curve. Phillips curve can be plotted with measuring unemployment along x-axis and inflation along y-axis. We can have an inverse relation. This is what we have considered, right? A trade-off between inflation and unemployment is something that we can have as a Phillips curve. And whenever we consider Phillips curve, let's consider 2 points. First is U, which would be the actual unemployment. And then you have something called U star. U star shows NRU, or the non-accelerating inflation rate of unemployment. And in this scenario, there is something called epsilon. And this epsilon shows the response of wage to unemployment. And for the very same reason, having said all these things, we can have the Phillips curve equation, which would be GW is equal to minus epsilon U minus U star. That shows U will not be equal to U star forever. Sometimes U would be greater than U star, or else U can be lesser than U star. If at all U is more than U star, it shows a fall in wages. Wages would be falling here, and for the very same reason, our GW would be a value that is less than 0, or it would be a value that would be negative. On the other hand, what happens if U is lesser than U star, or U star is more than U? Here wage would be rising because our GW would become positive. Now, having said this, let's consider the Phillips curve here. Let us consider one point on Phillips curve, which would be Z. At this point on the Phillips curve, you can have a corresponding level of inflation, which would be 10%, and corresponding level of unemployment, which would be U1. And also definitely you have a non-accelerating inflation rate of unemployment, which would be U star somewhere, which is different from U1. Okay, so what we are going to see here is that here the Phillips curve is showing wages and prices would be adjusting slowly to changes in aggregate demand. And why this happened? This happens due to the labor market adjustment. Now, initially, let's consider that we are at the point of equilibrium, and we are at the equilibrium means we are with stable prices and unemployment, and this is occurred. This would be something which will be occurring by this point, U star. And what would happen if the money supply in the economy increases? We are assuming that the money supply is increasing by 10%. If that happens, we are assuming that price level is constant, so the price is assumed to be constant, and by considering these two things, we could see that M by P, that is the money supply by price, this is something that would be increasing in the economy. And whenever this happens, this lead to what is called a fall in the interest rate. And what is interest rate? Interest rate is the price of money, right? And as a result, whenever fall in interest rate happens, as per law of demand, we could see that whenever a price of some commodity falls, it will lead to increase in the demand for that commodity. And for the very same reason, when interest rate falls, it will lead to increase in the demand, increase in aggregate demand. And as a result, this will lead to an increase in not only wages but also prices. Because we know that whenever wages increases, it is the cost of production that is increasing, and for the very same reason, this will lead to increase in prices. Cost of production increases, so it will lead to increase in price of the commodity, and this would also increase by 10%. So what happens? The economy, from initially it was in equilibrium, but now earlier as a result of a change, there happened to have a change, but now the economy reached back to the full employment equilibrium, which is U star. Okay, earlier the economy was in this point, but then it went to U1, but now it is moving to U star again. Now the wage, if it increases by 10%, we can see that wage, if it increases by 10%, this 10%, you can see that the unemployment would be falling. Earlier unemployment was U star, but now it will fall to U1. So this will make the wage to increase, right? But when wage increase, price will also increase due to the reason that I have already told you, and as a result, the economy will come back to the equilibrium position, which would be a full employment state, and this point will show the full employment level of output as well as unemployment. Now, as we have already told, wage can increase only when the actual unemployment, only if this actual unemployment is less than NRU. And always the policy makers should find a balance between inflation and unemployment rate in the economy, because whenever inflation increases, unemployment falls. We know that, and whenever inflation falls, this can happen only by increasing unemployment. So that means in order to increase, in order to deal with a fall in the unemployment, we have to suffer some inflation. Unemployment can be reduced with some inflation in the economy. And also we could see that inflation could be reduced with some unemployment in the economy. So policymakers should always strike a balance between these two things, and they should go for a good combination of unemployment and inflation every time. That's all about the usual Phillips curve case. Phillips curve has got several important versions. We will consider each of these in our coming videos. Thank you for watching. You can like, share and subscribe to this channel for more videos. Also, you can be a part of a Telegram community. I'll be providing the link of that in the description box. Also, you can download the Learn Oikonomia. For that also, I'll be providing the link in the description box. Thank you.